life and confidence coach Dianna Leeder, and this is my podcast, the Crave More Life Roadshow. It's here we talk about emotional hits and lovingly kicking our own asses to get through them. Just so you know, it always comes down to being your beautiful, sassy self, living and loving from you, no matter what. So join me to hear about the healing journeys of other women, and you just might become a DIY ass kicker too. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Roadshow. Today's guest is Atlantis Wolf, and we'll be talking about emotional release work. Have a listen. Hey everybody, dragon medicine, anybody? That's the jam of today's guest, Atlantis Wolf. Atlantis isn't new to the Roadshow, and I'd love to have her on to talk about her latest gigs and, yes, those dragons. I'm Dianna Leeder, host of the Crave More Life Roadshow podcast. I'm an intuitive life hack and a confidence coach who helps people get what they want when they find their voice. I'm also the proud lead author of the Find Your Voice, Save Your Life book series. It's available on Amazon, including the award-winning Powerful Healer Spiritual Stories, which coincidentally, yes, Atlantis was in. And the brand new edition that's being published this coming August, Find Your Voice, Save Your Life 4, Transcendent Men, Real Stories. So say hi to Emily Atlantis Wolf, an expert shamanic life coach who has helped over 3,000 people to heal using licensed medical massage techniques, emotional release therapy, and spiritual guidance. She also feels called to express her spiritual experiences to normalize them for other people. She's the real deal and is here to share about her emotional release therapy service. Welcome back, Atlantis.
Thanks, Dianna. As always, I am so glad to be here and so glad to talk to you, and always feel like we could talk for hours and hours and hours.
I think so. Did we not just take, 10, 15 minutes before we even started this?
Just to say hi.
That's it. Hi, how are you? What's going on? Yeah, I love that. So I'm so happy to have you here, and I really want to dig into this emotional release therapy, or the need for emotional release. I mean, because when you just, when you say those words, emotional release, for me, I kind of envision then a something that is really strong and maybe controlling or, tight, us letting it go. And I know it's not nearly that simple. So I'm going to hand it over to you. That's just my stuff. What's your stuff on
it? And that's why it's emotional release therapy, because it's only going to be therapeutic, which means it'll be as much as your body can handle. So the first premise is that it's always what you can handle, because it's not an overload situation. But the idea of emotional release therapy it comes from the emotion code, which is Dr. Bradley Nelson, who certifies people in the emotion code. And that's the program that I went through to get certified. It's a 9-month, 57 module program with interviews and things to put in. And it takes a long time, but it's an extremely well thought out, comprehensive program. So the premise is that we have emotions. Those emotions are energies. So if you think about the energy of laughter, if something makes you laugh, you laugh. If you hear a joke, even if it's a bad joke, you laugh. But imagine.
Wait. Are you sure about that last part?
I mean, my daughter is the co-president of the improv team. Her best friend's the other one. So there's a lot of improv and laughter. I'm not saying that they're all A+ jokes, but I laugh nonetheless. But imagine if you couldn't laugh. Like, what if there was a situation where you couldn't laugh? It's rare that we can't express our happier emotions, so those don't get trapped inside of our body. So the emotions of happiness and laughter and joy and delight, all of the ones that are socially acceptable, those come in, they get to be vibrated, usually in our heart, but some part of our body, and they're released. However, there's other emotions. For example, the emotion of anger, which is a vibration created by your liver. All of these emotions are vibrations for different organs. So your liver is responsible for anger. Your lungs are responsible for grief. So let's say that you're in a situation where you're angry. You are 3 years old and you have something, and someone not just takes it away, but they take it away and throw it out a moving car, and you realize you're never going to see it again, and it's your security blanket or it's your favorite object. It's your comfort. You are out of your mind with anger, but it's almost overwhelming. You can't even process what just happened. Like, this feels so impossible. This feels so overwhelming. And when you start to cry or start to say, hey, the people driving the car say, be quiet, your sister's sleeping, and you can't say anything. And you have to take that anger and keep it inside your body. There's no way at that moment for you to express it. So that could become a person who grows up and maybe remembers that. That's pretty traumatizing. I would remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they don't, but suddenly they have control issues around moving cars, open windows, or windows in general, or things falling out the window. They don't put plants on the windowsill because they don't want them to fall out. And they can't even exactly remember why, but it's there because that emotion of loss related to what happened to them is still there. Emotional release therapy is where you go in working with a person. It's basically asking their body, hey, do you have any trapped emotions that could be released at this time? And it's something that they've carried. So it's been in their body and part of their human anatomy and their system all this time. So through muscle testing, working with a practitioner, their body says yes. Going through all the different kinds of emotions, again, through muscle testing, come to find out that it's loss, anger, abandonment, trauma. It could be all of these things. They're one emotion per moment. So if you light all the birthday candles, you can only light one candle at a time. Same with emotions. You only create one emotion at a time. It may be in rapid fire, but it's one at a time. So because you create one at a time, you release one at a time. So we set our intention to release it to your higher power, God, goddess, spirit, Elvis, whoever you feel reverence for, really. Yeah. It's very personal. It could be the universe, it could be nature, Gaia. It's not important. What's important is that you are setting the intention to move it out of your body into a higher plane, a higher vibration, to be recycled. And even if you don't go down the path of, well, where does it go? And where's it going to be after this? Which I can go down with people who are wondering about that. But the important thing is setting the intention to remove it from your body. And then going through muscle release again to check, was it fully released? A lot of times it is. Sometimes we need to go through the process again of setting that intention and releasing it. And I use a healing magnet, Nikan healing magnet, and put it down people's spine, because your governing meridian is where you have a lot of juice going through the body. So you could put this down someone's spine, setting that intention, and that helps with the release. Wow. And because we have experienced so many emotions, we have hundreds of trapped emotions, but not all of them keep us limited. So you set the intention to sit and say, for example, are there trapped emotions around not being able to lose weight, or not being able to get a job or keep a job or keep a relationship or an equitable relationship? Mm-hmm. And setting the intention with the client, like, what is the goal? Do you want to just see what's in there? Like, what mm-hmm. doesn't serve your body anymore? Or do you want to focus on something in particular? And then we focus on that. It could also come up where there's physical pain. So for example, somebody that had maybe a tennis injury, they'll go through rehab, they'll have everything and everything is fine, but they still feel pain. These emotions that we're talking about are lower vibration, like pain is a lower vibration. Mm-hmm. So they will accumulate there. So we can set the intention, is any of this pain related to trapped emotions? Release one at a time, and suddenly, no pain. Wow. And it sounds remarkable until you start to think of it as energy. And if people discount the possibility of energy, look at anyone who is angry. That's energy. That is a ton of energy. they are releasing it.
You can
But if
almost
you weren't
feel that when
allowed,
someone's angry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, sure. And your body has to adjust and live with all of those trapped emotions all over. So you don't often see them with little kids unless they've been traumatized. Normally, you have to become somewhere around 35 or 40 before you can really feel the accumulation and have that, like, something is stuck. I'm not really getting where I want to go in life. And that is a perfect candidate to say, let's see if there's any trapped emotions. Maybe this is a limiting factor that's easy to release, and then you can move on.
Yeah.
The most frequent question I get is, does it erase my memory? Which I don't mean to make light of that, but I'm like, like I'm taking a big magnet and they're like the cassette tape when we were kids. I'm going, you're done. No. The way that I describe it is you have the story. So the story is characters, events, time, all this stuff. Then you have the emotion, and the emotion is the trigger that gets put on top of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a very tender emotional story, we don't think about it because we have to go through the emotion to get to the story. But if we remove that trapped emotion and we let that go, now I can see, oh, my boss doesn't hate me. My boss is being hard on me because this job doesn't serve me anymore and it's time for me to go. I have a next evolution. I have something else I need to work on. I'm being called to be somewhere else. But without the trigger of, why does they hate me so much? Why are they making my life hell? Why are they always on my case more than anybody else? They're not. They're doing their purpose in life. You just aren't getting the hint that it's time for you to grow.
Yeah. You know what? It strikes me that there are so many places in our lives where, things come up, and it's kind of it always seems a little simple to me, and it never feels this simple, but just, taking time to even reflect about where that's coming from,
Mm-hmm.
for us is so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean we always can shift it on our own, right? So the kind
No,
of
but
work that you're
asking the question that you just asked does shift it. The pause shifts it.
good.
So, mm-hmm.
Good. Because yes, and I think about, specifically, and I'm not quite sure why this one's coming up, but women who are in that space of needing to do everything for everyone and
Mm-hmm.
forget about who they are, to investigate some
Mm-hmm.
of the underlying causes of that. And a lot of it, because you know as well as I do that, the more we ignore who we are and what we're feeling, the more likely we're going to feel extreme
Oh,
pain as well, right? So
absolutely.
so I love this. I love the whole release piece.
Mm-hmm.
We can't all do it. So
And and it's a very it's a telling tale because that also brings in the question. One of the first questions I ask with muscle testing is this theirs? So if you're a person that does everything, you also will take on other people's emotions and emotional baggage. And you will say, oh, no, I don't want you to feel that. That's too harmful. I'll hold it for you and I'll take care of it for you.
there's a
Which of
mom's
course,
job, right?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Except for, what did you teach the kid? All of a sudden the kid has no skills. They
Yes.
move away from the mothership, and suddenly they can't cope with anything because they're thinking, why does everything feel so emotional? Every time I'm around my mom, she keeps diffusing everything, taking everything. So you can have absorbed emotions, and you can actually, a lot of times, if I go through 5 or 6 layers, I'll just sort of have an intuitive hit and ask, is this something that was inherited? You can actually have inherited trapped emotions.
Hmm.
That becomes very exciting for me
I can
because,
see that on your
oh
faces.
yeah, I'm very excited. I'm like, oh boy. So as somebody who sees spirits, I think that they always set me up for, like, oh yeah, we got one. Okay, this will be great. So after you move through yours, if it's inherited, then you start to do muscle testing and you research, is it on the mother's side, the father's side, and then
Mm,
mother's father? Is it through the female line, the male? You go all the way back, and the furthest I think I ever went back, it was 23 generations back, that there
wow.
was this trapped emotion that was related to loss, and it was deep loss. It was past grief, it was past sadness, it was just like that despair, loss.
Right.
And it was a mother who was in Ireland, because she showed me the stories, and they really, the people that originally created these vibrations, they want you to know the story so that they can release it too. But it was in Ireland, and it was in a house, and there was a fire in the house, and her husband died getting their second child out of the house. So she lost the husband, she lost that child. She had one child and she was pregnant, and then left the country, and it was coming through and down the line. And no one ever wants to curse their family line. But
Mm,
as we are in this um, age of energetic awareness, we now have the tools to move into that more quantum field where we understand time and space is able to be understood as an instantaneous event. It's not a line, it's always. There is no line in space or
mm,
time. It's,
mhm.
everything is always happening. So the that emotion is sitting with the person who is my client, and removing it removes it all the way back through those generations to the original person who I am delighted to always see. And they're always the people in between are sort of like chalk drawings. I don't have a high degree of clarity on what they look like, but the person at the end who created it, I always have a high degree of what they look like, what they're wearing, what they're doing, where they are,
Oh,
and all of
cool.
that. So it's
Hmm.
great because I could give that to the client and let them know
Hmm.
you have ancestors over here, especially when they're adopted. That's fun. And
Okay.
it takes care of future. So the client siblings, and all those children, their children, the siblings' children, and everything, that emotion no longer carried through the line. It's done. It's
Wow.
over. It's been boop, gone. And because there is a new connection with the ancestor, they often want to hang around the client and see what's it like, what's it like over here and now, and you're part of me and I'm part of you, and you experience this, this lifetime, this physical lifetime. I'd like to peek into it. And sometimes they just go, sometimes they drop everything. It's like they'll drop their skin and hair and body and just disappear.
Mm,
And that's also very cool. It's up to them, but they're hanging around trying to get this resolved,
mhm.
because it's continuing on the family line, and they just are waiting and waiting for someone somehow to understand this needs to be released, so that they can move back to that cleaner energetic place. And without the awareness, you just keep dragging that around with you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild.
It is.
Awesomely wild.
Yeah.
I can imagine that someone just coming and saying, I have this pain that won't go away in my shoulder. And then, getting into the reality of all of it
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it would be, I mean, not only incredibly healing, but, that awareness for someone to, just to be able to uh, learn about where that came from, learn about what the impact, has
Well,
been. It's
and
awesome.
and it can be life changing. I had a client who he was 63 and he had a lifelong stutter, and he's a musician. He plays a trumpet, so it doesn't affect him for playing his instrument, but it affects him as a teacher. And we worked through emotional release therapy 2 or 3 times, I think, at the most. And it was an ancestor, and they knew it was basically a family secret. There was a family secret that no one was
Mm-hmm.
allowed to tell, and it was the idea of getting clamped down. Don't talk, don't say anything, don't nothing. But here's a person who comes along in the family line who's expressive and creative and an artist and needs to use their voice,
Mm-hmm.
and their voice keeps failing them and they don't know why. And we figured out why, found out who it was, who the ancestor was, released it, and 95% of his stutter disappeared.
Wow. Immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
And interestingly, his daughter, who doesn't have a stutter because he does, went on to be a speech pathologist as uh, and that's her career and that's what she loves to do. And there was nothing that she could do to help her dad because it's
Mm.
not physical, it's emotional. And that was also fascinating for her as a young person in their 20s to say, what? Like you did that and that took care of it. So interesting to open people up to your point about just the awareness that this is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. You see,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons why I like you so much. And one of the reasons why I was glad that you shared that you like to just be open about, your different gifts because it,
Mm-hmm.
it really does normalize it for everybody. And that's a perfect example of
Mm-hmm.
how you operate, which is awesome.
Yeah. And I think it's also about accepting everything. My MO is just everything that I see, hear, feel on this side and on the spirit side. I just basically go, oh, cool. Okay. And I think that is the gift in a nutshell. That's the gift from the
Yeah.
first thing I ever saw, which actually wasn't that long ago. It was only like 13 years ago. It was sort of like, oh, that's the Archangel Gabriel. Wow. Okay. He's big. I haven't seen him in a while. Hi.
Wow. Yeah.
I feel strongly though that if people focus on the just the wow factor, like wow, I just got an intuitive, voice or message, or my body feels different when I'm around different people. I feel like everyone can tune into whatever they have. One of my new friends that I have a dragon meditation group that I get together with every 2 weeks for planetary service. And the lead, one of the people in the group, she actually has the clair, like the clairvoyant, clairaudient for taste. And so she
Mm.
will literally have tastes come into her mouth around different experiences, like the taste of food or the taste of fruit or chocolate chip cookies, like very specific things, and it'll make her feel different ways and she will interpret that intuitively different ways. And she sees sacred geometry everywhere, so she tastes things in her mouth and she sees sacred geometry shapes everywhere.
That's
So I
amazing.
mean, we're all wired for the
Mm-hmm.
fun stuff, and really it's just a matter of saying, yeah, now that you mention it, when my grandmother passed away, I saw her in the house, or I felt her, or I smelled her. I mean, you can have different senses come
Yeah.
in, whether you just feel it or you know you hear about it.
Yeah.
Um, don't discount any of it. It's all very cool.
Absolutely. It is very cool. Yeah. And we've talked about that before that it's, that's not the first place where most people will go, but when they
No,
do, when they embrace that, I mean, it's life changing.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely. I'm
Very
not, and
cool.
I've everything I've seen some remarkable stuff through the veils and through the spirit world, and never once was I ever afraid, ever, never. I've had animals charge at me, and I just look at them like, really? I'm a good person. Like, I don't know what you're worried about. And they'll just stop right in front of me. I've had dragons that I have met for the first time swallow me. And I'm like, ooh, fun. Wonder what's going to happen now. Okay. And a marigold dragon did that in Mexico. I was laying in a marigold field and he was like jumping like down and into the air and then out. And I was literally laying there. I'm like, I wonder what's going to happen. Oh, swallowed me. I seem to be fine. Okay, that was great. But if people are a little, but on this side, like I'm afraid of stuff all over the place on this side. I see people going through red lights and stop signs, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm always looking, and I'm a lot more careful
Mm-hmm.
on this side. But on the other side, I feel like it's just all up for grabs. There's
Mm-hmm.
no gravity. There's no, physics is different. Everything is just sort of like fun town.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. And that's such a great message. really. It is. That it's, that, you know, that there doesn't need to be the fear. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Acceptance is
fear
it.
is in your head. Fear is all about your ego. Your ego sits in your head and it keeps you safe in social situations.
Mm-hmm.
That's all fear is. I don't want to feel ashamed. I don't want to get kicked out of the tribe. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to embarrass my partner or my children. I want to be accepted by the group. Whereas love is in your heart. So, children who are not ego formed yet, they'll hug everybody, they'll love everybody, they'll smile at everybody. They're all heart. There's no fear in your heart. It's fear here or love here. So it's always just about where are you operating from?
Yeah.
And a reminder, your heart is 60,000 times more electromagnetically charged than your little tiny brain.
Is that right? I did not know
Love
that.
wins. Yeah, that's part
Love
of like
wins.
heart math and Dr. Joe Dispenza stuff and everything. 60,000 times more powerful.
Wow.
Love always wins. So you just see everything through love. Just
Yeah.
move down.
Yeah. Put the glasses on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good plan. Good plan. I love that. It's great. It's great awareness, and it's great stuff for us to take with us.
It is.
So, I have a question about your emotional release therapy. Is it all one to one, or do you do any of it online?
I do one-on-one sessions and I do free half-hour consultations for people who are saying, I don't get it. I need you to explain this again. Like, what is this really all about? And I'm starting to do monthly webinars. So it's more of just a free information webinar. And anyone who comes, jump on my website, atlantiswolf.com, put your email in. I'll be setting that up starting in probably June. I'm going to do a monthly information webinar for an hour, and I'll take volunteers from the group and just walk people through emotional release therapy so that they can see it real time and see that it's easy and it's simple, but it's also a skill. So you need someone to hold that space. You need someone to walk you through it. I think of it as between a practice and a ceremony, because the ceremony piece is to hold people well and honor that they're there for a reason and that they're probably holding a lot of emotions inside and that they're often using those as protection against the world
Yeah.
so that they don't have to feel, because feeling is too triggery, it's too much. So, I'm always very careful about just setting the intention just to release what the body can handle, maybe one or two, and then answer questions. But the most of my sessions are one-on-one online. So I do it all over Zoom. I do it with some people. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. So I do it some with people that are here. And mostly I do it online because it's so easy to do online.
Mm. Well, sign me up, girlfriend. I'll come and do one
Sure.
online with you. Yeah, I like to experience all of
It's
it, figure it all out.
it's really fun and it's really easy. That's what I like about it. There's not Everybody is ready for different kinds of therapy. So I do medical massage, but here's a therapy. You don't have to take off your clothes. You don't need to make an appointment. You could, anytime, anywhere, and it's still extraordinarily helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So in that
Mm-hmm.
sense, it feels futuristic because
Yeah.
this is where we're going with medicine. It's
Yeah.
energy medicine. It's helping everyone move through their stuff so they can become clear channels for love.
Yeah.
And the more you clean out your own stuff and you work on your own, it's easy to love other people if you love yourself.
Mm-hmm. And
The
that's the
opposite is
bottom
also
line of
true.
it all, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Love
Easy.
yourself
We
and
want
you
life
can
to
love
be
others too.
easy.
Absolutely. And that kind of takes us back to where we started about, releasing emotion, you know, in,
Yeah, because it doesn't serve you. It's sort of the energy of emotions. It's like a wave in the ocean. It's supposed to go through you. So a healthy person will have an emotion created, good, bad, and different. Doesn't there's no judgment. It's more just like, whoa, why was there such an emotional reaction around this baby that's crying? In a healthy adult who has worked through a lot of their stuff, release their emotions, and they're looking at their stories, they could kind of flip through their stories and say, ooh, okay, I was not
there it
picked up
is.
when I was crying. So maybe I'll look around, and if it's appropriate, pick up this baby and work on the awareness and understand where I am in my path, understanding I'm not angry at the mother, I'm reacting to my own experience. That's where I am in my evolution, moving inside, moving through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very personal journey, and it is um it's well worth it because your body feels so much lighter after you've gone through and released all this excess baggage. I mean, it literally
Yeah,
feels lighter,
it would have
you
to.
know?
And while you were, while you were describing that, I was envisioning how the way that you're just kind of, the way that you accept, some of the spiritual experiences that you've had,
Mm-hmm.
and how, just being okay with it and just kind of, noticing and okay, that's okay, it's all okay. That's a very different response than somebody who is, it's kind of a perfect example to talk about the difference between that and fear that you talked about
Yeah.
too, right? That's a very different response. And when we take that and apply it to something that, um, I would refer to as being a little more practical, I guess, although that's
Mm-hmm.
probably an inaccurate word, but, like my next door neighbor kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't understand spirituality at all and doesn't care to.
Sure.
It's the same, it really is the same stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
We're reacting to something for a reason that
Mm-hmm.
lies inside us. So
And maybe instead of practical, we'll say traditional. The traditional approach would
yeah.
be, let's talk about it, let's continue to talk about it. The premise of the emotion code is talking about it is not going to release the emotion out of your body, because that's all in your head. You'll be able to release the emotion and then go see a therapist and understand your story better. But if you don't release that emotional component first, which is in your body, not your head, trapped emotions are always in the body. And the fun one of the fun things is we could actually do muscle testing and find out where it is in your body. And
Mm-hmm.
part of it is you drink, release 3 or 4, drink a glass of water, walk, 20 steps in one direction and come back, because then you can feel how, oh my gosh, like that's not stiff anymore, or that doesn't stick the way that it used to anymore. And then you start to understand, oh, my body had to move its energy around this for so long that now it feels different because it's going right through that part of my body, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a real uh, physical response when you remove these energies out of your body, which I'll
Yeah.
be honest, that lights me up like a Christmas tree. I'm always just like, right? Is that cool? Because it's totally amazing to me. And once you sort of sit with it going, oh yeah, we create this energy, but if we don't move it out of our body, of course it's still sitting there. Yeah,
Of
how do I get
course.
rid of that? Yeah, come and see
It
me, we'll do that.
Yeah, well, and that makes perfect sense. Absolutely. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, whoever's listening, go and see Atlantis because she will do that. And since I
And it'll be
clarified that
fun.
yes, and she's a lot of fun too. And since I clarified that it happens online, there's no excuse to not go and see her. So yeah, just get it done. Yeah, awesome. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
seriously, I'm gonna experience it because, yeah, I love it. It's very
Yeah.
cool and so needed. Oh my gosh, we need this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and shame on me a little bit, but I need to get up some testimonials. I just had someone send me a testimonial about how it literally changed their life. And we did 3 sessions around weight loss, and it was someone powerful, accomplished, like way out in the world, but this was something that was not easy for her, not moving through her. She couldn't understand. And she is mega powerful spiritual person, and she had never heard of this either. And so we got together for 3 sessions, and they're an hour and a half each, so that we could really like get into the emotion and some coaching, and depending on what comes up, maybe some tenderness and some advice around how long, ask your body how long to process. And she said, you need to be charging tens of thousands of dollars for this. This is ridiculous. This is the most like life-changing therapy I've ever had. And she's definitely a try it kind of a person.
Cool.
So I thought, well, I like 225 for 90 minutes. I like it being available to everyone, and I like that it's permanent. I like that you permanently have released this, and now you can go out into the world and find it easier to love and be loved. And I mean, it's where it's at.
Yeah, it sure is. And that's the kind of healing that is accessible to us and easy and
Yeah.
clear. Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Thank you.
You're
Oh
welcome.
my gosh.
Always a pleasure.
Oh, it was, yeah, it is always a pleasure. Now, is there anything else you want to share just as we wrap up? Did we miss anything?
Not that I can think of, other than to remind people I work Monday through Saturday and I'm open to time zones, and my online scheduler actually is sensitive to time zones. So it will detect your local time zone and show you availability in your local time zone,
Perfect.
which is nice. I worked on that. So that's all hooked up.
Ease.
Other than that, yeah, oh yeah, I'm all about like how can I make this easier? My
Mm-hmm.
mantra these days is I look at things, I'm like, now how can I make this easier? And then I figure it out and just sit back and say, yeah, that's better. So
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm really glad that you were here today. Thank you so much, Atlantis, for all
welcome.
your everything that you gave us today. It wasn't just about emotional release; it was much larger, and people are going to appreciate that for sure. I appreciated it. I loved hearing it. Yeah.
Anytime. I'm always happy to see you. I'm always happy to talk to you. And as always, I always say the same thing. I'll be back.
I have no doubt that you will. And something that I say all the time is, listeners, I'm so happy that you were here. Thank you so much for taking the time to just join us and listen. And if you took a tidbit away, that's awesome. If you simply listened and you're done, that's okay too. Because just by showing up, you've kicked your own ass a little bit. So thank you so much. See you next time. If you like today's podcast, hit subscribe at the bottom on your way out, and come find me at cravemorelife.com for even more DIY ass kicking.